Hello. So I just got back from Jamaica. Am I going to talk about it? Yes, I am. Am I going to review some rum? Yes, I am. But while I'm setting up for that, I thought I would hop into a tasting set I am a little bit angry at myself for not dealing with before. Glen Moray, Speyside, single malt Scotch. Glen Moray is a Elgin-based distillery. What order am I going to do these in? I think sherry and then port. So they're based in Elgin. Pretty obscure. It's not, one the enthusiasts talk about a whole lot. Probably best known as a former stablemate of Ardbeg and Glenmorangie before they were unceremoniously booted out. They are now owned by a company called Martiniquaise, which is, from as you can tell from the name, is mainly based in, or mainly works with stuff from the French Caribbean. They own the St. James distillery, for example. Put that out of the way. But they've also got the Cutty Sark blended Scotch brand, and this little distillery here. Now, what's interesting for you, the consumer, about Glen Moray at the moment is they are extremely cheap. So most of this lineup, these three, the sherry finish, port finish, and the peated, are in Chicago around $33 a bottle, which is a very reasonable price for a single malt Scotch these days. The classic, the Glen Moray Elgin Classic, is more like $22 for a 750 milliliter bottle of single malt Scotch. I actually reviewed this before and kind of liked it. I don't remember. I think it was high 70s or something like that. Anyways, we're going to view that again and the rest of the range. So I'm going to give these a drop of water and we'll get started. Two. Yeah, so with Scotch getting more and more expensive, obviously if you're an enthusiast, these have shortcomings. They're all 40%. Nothing on there about non-chill filtration, nothing on there about natural color, no age statements even. But the prices are very, very intriguing. So if these are good, they may be worth a grab anyways. All right, let's get this started. Glen Moray Classic. I do remember liking this. Okay, very Speyside, which can mean a couple of things. So in this case, I'm talking about a lot of honey, wildflower honey in particular. A little like mashed pear and apple as well. Kind of some barley citrus as well. So malted milk balls. Little English breakfast tea. Vanilla, definitely. I'd be shocked if this was anything but ex-bourbon casks. But what makes this interesting, and it's kind of something I like about the Glen Moray profile, is it's a little bit herbaceous too. There's a little bit of like a grassy slash, like it's a parsley kind of thing on the back, intermingled in there. And that's something that Speysiders can do. People think of it, I've talked about this before, people think of the Speyside as just being like the smooth, fruity, easy one, or the one that's smothered in sherry. But often Speysiders can get extremely herbaceous and kind of tea-driven. There can be some bitter orange in there. And just as I mentioned that, I'm actually getting a little bit of orange peel. Nice nose. For $22, this is a darn good nose. This is what, half the price of standard Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, right? All right, on the palate. Interesting. I remember the previous bottle of this I reviewed having a very interesting evolution to it because it got very interestingly herbal and bitter on the back end. This is still doing a little bit of that, but nowhere near as much. It's very much kind of following the nose for the most part. Honey honey, vanilla, malted milk balls, orchard fruit. But especially as you get from the mid-palate transition to the finish, you do start to get the bitter orange peel, really. Some overstewed tea notes, a little bit of parsley happening. It's actually quite a refreshing malt. You could, if you can't get a hold of a decent lowlander, or if you're just priced out of it, this can scratch that itch. Slightly floral, but very easygoing, very desserty. Creme brulee. I do love that little bitter snap on the back end. I'm not going to go crazy on this. It's for something, with this kind of presentation, it's actually performing very well indeed. In fact, I prefer this to most of the entry level, big name Speysiders out there. I'm going to give this 80 points. 80 points for the Glen Moray Elgin Classic. $22. Not the most profound malt out there, but at this price, it doesn't really need to be, does it? Okay, moving on to... These were in a different order in the box, but I'm going to go by my gut of what I think the order should be. We're going to do the sherry cask finish one. You'll notice the color on this is not appreciably darker than the Elgin Classic, which means A, they haven't smothered this with caramel, and B, the aggression with the finish probably hasn't been, too strong. Actually, a little bit more subdued on the nose than the Classic. I mean, kind of as you'd expect from a sherry finish, and one done on a budget. It kind of just smells like what the Classic is, with an overcoat of like dried fruit, black pepper, little touch of savory, little like take one chicken bouillon cube, throw it in there. But yeah, I'm mainly getting definitely a lot more black pepper on this one, white and black pepper. But the tea, the honey, they're still there. There's still lots of, a fair amount of vanilla. Apple, barley. It smells very Speyside. And yeah, dried fruit and a little bit of Swisher Sweets happening in the background. It's nice. I mean, for $33, this is outperforming my expectations already. On the palate. Ooh. I wasn't seeing that. This kind of has a minty thing on the finish. Maybe it's more basil than mint. Hold on, let me try this again. This ain't bad. First of all, extremely well composed. There's a lot of little elements going on here. It's still not helped much by the presentation. I'm checking the bottle and make sure this is 40% because it just feels, I don't know, more full in my mouth than I expected to be. All right, what are we getting here? So the sherry is more present on the palate than it is on the nose. Again, it's lots of pepper. Swisher Sweets, definitely lots of Swisher Sweets. The bouillon cube, touch of old, book cover, old leather. I'm genuinely shocked by how good this is. I'm not saying it's spectacular. I'm not gonna, push it too deep into the 80s, but it's getting there. Yeah, what am I getting? Cider apple, kind of bitter sour apple in there. Um, and that kind of, the herbaceousness on this is actually more pronounced than on the classic. But in this case, it turns into more of a minty basil thing. I'm drinking this. This is great. Overstewed tea, again, definitely happening. Bitter orange, again. Like, yeah, I don't know. And a little bit of bergamot as well. So both kind of bitter orange peel and bergamot peel. A little bit of that kind of herbaceous oranginess. I'm gonna stop drinking this. Wow. Wow. I am delighted at how good that is. I'm gonna give this an 83. I really am. 83 points. Yeah, I don't know if I'm feeling, if my palate is feeling generous today or what's going on, but this is the sherry finish Glen Moray. It's good. It's actually very good. All right, moving on. This is the one I'm scared of. Glen Moray, Elgin Classic, port cask finish. Me and port casks do not get along unless it's like full maturation or something. Something about it as a finish just doesn't feel like it gels very well, especially with something that's been a long time in American oak. So I'm a little scared. This does have a darker color than the sherry. The sherry started out restrained and then kind of opened up. This is even more kind of a little bit closed than the sherry was. Come on, open up. So I'm getting a little bit of sour apple again. What is that? Almost like a green strawberry note. Pepper again. Something green, but I don't think it's coming from the malt this time. It's almost like I don't know, boiled, or, like sautéed spinach or something. The vanilla is coming through a little bit, but I'm really having to fight to get notes off of this one. All right, let's just go to the palate. Here we go. So on the palate, this is better than it is on the nose, and definitely more expressive. It's still my least favorite so far, but it's better than I was expecting. So we're arriving on a ton of kind of black, well, just straight up black pepper, not even ground, like it's just those little ball things. Intermixed with, yeah, like just green stuff. Like wet mixed herbs that, sauteed herbs. That's kind of what I'm getting on the front end. And that kind of sour strawberry thing. That's most of what's there. This actually feels the thinnest of the ones I've tried so far. Let me double check the classic on that. Yeah, despite the kind of relative spiciness of the port cask, this one actually feels the thinnest in my mouth. And don't say I overwatered this, because I added 2 drops to every single one of these. There's some vanilla coming through. A little bit of like, what is that, like a s'mores note as well. The nice thing about this is it doesn't feel sweet. It doesn't feel cloying in any way. It's just not. It's not my favorite. It's not. It's a little austere in a way that I don't like very much. Certainly not bad, and for $33, you can certainly do a lot worse. But I'm gonna score this. Where am I gonna score this? I'm gonna score this not too much below. Let's call it like a 78 out of 100. 78 for the port finish. And this one, this is very interesting. This is the Glen Moray Elgin Classic Peated single malt. Initially, I thought this, add a little more in there. Initially, I thought they would have just like used an ex-Isla cask or something to get their peat into this. But no, apparently this is Glen Moray actually buying some heavily peated barley and then distilling it themselves and aging it themselves, which is really cool. So I'm again, $33. So that's a really good price for anything with peat in it these days. So if this is good, like it's probably going to be a buy, even if it's not great, because you can, even if it's not really good, you can still cocktail with it. You can use it in penicillins and stuff. All right, here we go on the nose. Signs are good so far. I'm getting I was expecting maybe to get some barnyardy mainland peat on this one, which I'm not really getting. This is quite clean. Yeah, it's peat. I'm not really getting a whole lot of seasidey notes. I'm not getting the iodine. I'm not getting like maybe there's like one dash of salt water in there, but that's it. It's kind of very clean peat without accompaniment, if I can put it that way. Solo peat unplugged. And beyond that, there's a little touch of topsoil, apple coming through, and then the vanilla, lots of vanilla, some kind of a vanilla fudge thing, creme brulee again, honey. This is nice, and white pepper. It's simple. It's very, very simple, but it's nice. All right, and importantly, I'm not getting any off notes. I'm not getting any soapiness or excessive floral character, which I did get on my last bottle of Finlagen. So let that be noted. Here we go on the palate. Okay, let's start with the level of peating here. So this is not Ardbeg peat, this is not Laphroaig peat. We're sort of in Bowmore-ish territory. Somewhere between Bowmore and Killila. It's very simple. Clean peat, touch of seawater, touch of vanilla fudge, more than a touch of vanilla fudge. Apple, a little bit of that kind of parsley I was getting on the old classic. Overstewed tea. Did I mention vanilla? Vanilla. Honeys. It's very simple. It's very basic, but it does the job. And again, what kind of surprises me here is the presence this has in my mouth. This doesn't feel thin. It doesn't feel like it's like falling apart on me as I drink it. Not a huge finish. You can kind of tell it's relatively young. It's kind of very forward in my mouth. In fact, I would guess this is the youngest one of this bunch. But it works. It absolutely works. I'm gonna give this 82 points out of 100. So is it my favorite super duper cheap? Well, I guess you can't get the Glenfiddich, what was Cane and Fire and Cane, whatever that was. The Peated Glenfiddich with the rum cask, whatever that was. That seems to have disappeared from the shelves. And that was previously my favorite cheap peated whiskey. But this is less expensive. It isn't as good, but it's less expensive, and it can kind of serve that same purpose of just being like, you know, your rail peater. That's what this is. Really nice. I'm actually quite impressed with this range. For the price points, yes, absolutely. All of these are worth buying. I myself am not fond of the port cask, but if that's your jam, that you might like it. But yeah, my power ranking is sherry finish. Let me try this again. Yeah, that has no right to be as good as it is at 33 bucks. Sherry finish. And then the peater, and then the classic, $22, and then the port cask. Yeah, keep your eye on Glen Moray. What I would love to see is some really value-driven, keep the value-driven thing, because that's what's going to win you when you support. But you know, start putting out some more serious stuff bottled at cask strength, 46%. Have some fun, you know. Thanks for watching, and cheers.